Hello all. Yeah, so I'm back with another video of Spring Boot series only. Basically, I'm continuing the same application, CRUD application series of Spring Boot, which I have created earlier. So in that video till now, like we have created a simple CRUD application comprising of like create operation, read operation, update operation, and delete operation with a simple controller service layer, including the JPA also we have included with the entity and everything we have done, and repository class also we are extending the JPA repository, and the basic like versioning also we have done till now. Like I will put this code in my GitHub. Till now, like I haven't put it, but I will just put it in my GitHub. But the next question comes, like earlier also I've mentioned that exception handling is also a part of a good application. Like if you are creating a good application with the proper following the solid principles and clean coding writing practice, along with writing the unit test cases, so then you need to handle the exceptions also properly. So for that, like earlier we used to do manually by you writing the try catch in each and every like this method also, and then again method also. So we will avoid this approach. Like nowadays most of the application or most of the projects is specific requirements are that they uses the java 8. So through java 8 we can easily throw the exception using the dot or else throw. And for that we have the options, like we can create a global exception handler class, and in using at the rate controller advice annotation, and then we can have that methods defined or our custom exceptions defined, and using at the rate exception handler on that particular method. So through that class we can handle all the exceptions or our custom exceptions also, we can write it in that global exception handler class, and then we can directly call it here. So suppose here we are like throwing the new runtime exception when the ID is not found, or suppose that the ID data is not being present in the database. So we are throwing the new runtime exception. So instead of that, what we will do, like I have created one exception folder here, exception package. Same view also you can create it, and then what we will be doing it, we will be creating our custom exception first, custom exception class. So in that way you will be learning two things, like if you are not aware about how to write the custom exceptions, so that also I will be telling you firstly. So suppose we want to throw some exception, like if the database id is not present or database records are not present in the s2 database, so then what we can do, we can throw some custom exception of employee not found exception. Suppose employee not found exception, and this is a class. Okay, and then what we can do it, we can this for creating the custom exception, it will extend the runtime exception as it is a unchecked exception. These custom exceptions comes under the unchecked exception, so it will extend its parent class, which is runtime exception. Then we will create one constructor. This is the method, or this is the logic for writing the custom exception. If you are not aware of employee not found exception constructor, we will be creating it. In this we will be passing the message what we want to throw to the user and user, and then we will be simply calling the super keyword to call this message. That's it. So through this way you can easily write the custom exception. What is the error it is throwing? Okay, so here, then okay, leave it as of now. Runtime exception, as just we have created this custom exception. So what I was telling you, that this custom exception has been created by extending runtime exception and this constructor, and we are calling this message using the super keyword. Now we will create one global exception handler class. Name it as global exception handler. Okay, this class. And then what we'll be doing it here, we'll be annotating this class at the rate controller advice, so that compiler will be aware that this is a global exception handler class. Then what we'll be doing it, we will be writing one custom method for our handling this custom exception what we have written it. So for that we have as I'm using the response entity, the same I will be using it, and it will be generic type, as we are not sure like what is the return type. So to avoid that, we will be writing it as a generic type, handle employee not found exception. Okay, and then inside that what we can do, we can just call that particular class employee not found exception ex, suppose object we have called it. And one more annotation is required here, exception handler, and inside this we will be passing employee handler employee not found dot exception dot class. Okay, this thing is done. Now what we will be doing it, we will be creating one map of string as a key and object as a value, error, suppose I have given the name new hash map, then okay, then what we'll be doing it, error dot put, and inside that suppose we are passing the timestamp, like at what time this exception has been occurred, and local date time dot now, it will pass the current date time using the local date time, and then error dot put, and here we will be passing the message, what message we need to pass or throw that particular exception, ex dot get, sorry, ex dot get message. Okay, then error dot put, and here we will be passing the status also, and ex dot get status there. Okay, don't have the status one. Acha, okay, directly we can http status dot not found. And we will be just passing the value here as it is of object type. Then what we'll be doing it, we will be returning this error using the response entity, return new response entity, and error comma http status dot not found. Done here. See here, it is simple, like nothing I have done. Now we will be calling or we will be throwing this exception everywhere in the service class. Instead of this, we will be throwing employee not found exception. And one more thing we can do, we can just add the id here also, like what id the data was not found. Then delete is done. Then we have the update one. Similarly in update also we will do the same thing. Instead of throwing the runtime exception, we are throwing our own custom exception. And here also, like get employee by id is the method. So here also what we'll be doing it, dot or else throw new employee not found exception given records not found, something like that, then id. Yeah, done. So now we can just restart our application and just show you your demo. Till that we can copy the url one of that. What is the id for uh, slash v1 slash data slash id is there. So instead of this post, just call the get, and suppose initially we don't have any data because we here in initially there is no data present. So what it will do, it should throw an exception, like inside the get id we are throwing the exception, like if the data is not present, so it should throw the exception properly. Okay, and is the application started? Yeah, application is started. Now we can just call that method. say proper exception is being thrown here, and with the message with the time stamp current and the status. So this how